Welcome and good afternoon. This is Commish Orr, and today we have a matchup in the Best of the Decades tournament, the 1960s. And it is between the 1969 Baltimore Orioles and the 1968 Detroit Tigers. Not only is it a matchup, folks, but it is the Game 5 of the Best of 5 series. Tied at 2 games apiece here. So let's take a look at the bracket. We're using season ticket baseball, folks. And this is the Best of the Decades tournament bracket as it stands. And we are right over here. And the 1969 Orioles are the number 2 seed. The 1968 Tigers are the number 3 seed. And they are tied up 2 games apiece. The winner will advance to play the 1961 New York Yankees, while the loser of this game will drop down to the losers bracket. It is a double elimination series tournament. So the loser will face the 1964 Chicago White Sox. By the way, over in the National League, you can see that the 5th seeded 1960 Pittsburgh Pirates have topped the 1968 Cardinals, the number 1 seed, 3-1, to advance there in the National League. The 62 Giants and the 63 Dodgers are tied up at 2 games apiece also, so they'll have a Game 5 to play, the winner of which will advance to play the Pirates, while the loser will drop down to play the Cardinals in the losers bracket. So that's kind of where things stand now in this matchup. Let us take a look at, I'm going to blow this up so you can actually see it. Let's take a look at some of the notable things about the Orioles and the Tigers here. As you can see, Baltimore Orioles have a team batting average of .250 and a team ERA of .280. And the Tigers have a team batting average of .212 and a team ERA of .386. Now, if we go to take a look at these games, and if we go to recap here, we'll see that in Game 1, Detroit came out on top. McLean topping McNally 5-4. Very, very close game with 2 runs in the top of the 8th, the deciding factor in that one. Game 2 was all Baltimore, though. Cuellar with a 5-hit shutout in Game 2 as Baltimore went to win that one 5-0. In Game 3, once again, this time it was Jim Palmer holding the Tigers to just a few hits, a handful of hits, as Baltimore topped the Tigers 2-1. Very close game there, but Palmer took a shutout into the 9th in that one. And so Baltimore needed only one more win to advance, but in Game 4 it was not to be, as a little bit of a back-and-forth game that was eventually decided in the bottom of the 9th with a walk-off home run by Norm Cash. So Detroit able to tie this series back up at 4 games apiece and force a Game 5. Now, Game 5 starters, by the way, are Cuellar, and Cuellar had that shutout in Game 2. And the starter for the Tigers is Earl Wilson, who had a rough starting Game 2. He went 3 1/3 inning, allowed 4 earned runs. I believe he got injured for a couple of games after that. So he'll have a chance to redeem himself in this game, see what he could do in this one. But that's just to give you a little bit of background on how we got to where we're at right now. As always, you can head over to baseballmaelstrom.com if you want to follow the action. You can check out the stats. You can check out the bracket. You can also see other projects I have going on, such as my Payoff Pitch Hall of Fame project. That actually is a lot of the front page here, are the games for that and the standings for that. It's not a tournament. It's actually a third of a season for that one. Anyway, you can head over to baseballmaelstrom.com and check out all the projects that I've had current or in the past. So that brings us to today's game, which takes place here in Memorial Stadium in Baltimore here in 1969. And I've already rolled for weather. We rolled a 6 here, which it's a September day game, which was 72 degrees. We rolled a 16 here, which means overcast skies. And we rolled a 12, which is no wind. So we have a not a windy day, nice 72 degree day game here, and we are ready to go. Let's take a look at the starting lineups for the Detroit Tigers, the visiting Detroit Tigers, first of all. Leading off at second base, Dick McAuliffe. Batting second in center field will be Mickey Stanley. Batting third in right field, Jim Northrup. In the cleanup spot in left field, Willie Horton. Bill Freehan will be catching and batting fifth. Al Kaline batting sixth at DHing today. By the way, I'm using the DH for both all games in this tournament. Norm Cash, the hero of Game 4, will be batting seventh and playing first base. Don Wirt at third base and batting eighth. And finally, Dick Tracewski will be batting ninth and playing shortstop for the Tigers. As I mentioned, on the mound for the Tigers is Earl Wilson. He was 13-12 that year with a 2.85 ERA. Pretty good, actually. Now the starting lineup for the 1969 home team, the Baltimore Orioles. Leading off in left field, Don Buford. Batting second in center field, Paul Blair. Frank Robinson in right field batting third. In the cleanup spot, we have Boog Powell at first base. Brooks Robinson at third base batting fifth. Davey Johnson at second base batting sixth. Ellie Hendricks will be batting seventh and catching today. DHing will be Dave May, and batting ninth at shortstop, Mark Belanger. I think it's Belanger is how it's pronounced. 69 was, by the way, just a few years before I was born, so if I mispronounce a couple of player names, please forgive me. I wasn't alive when these... Well, I was alive when some of these players were playing because they were still playing in 73, but too young to have known much of the game back then. So, and as I mentioned, Mike Cuellar will be pitching. He was 23-11 with a 2.38 ERA that year, so very good person to be on the mound for the Baltimore Orioles today. So, with all that said, we are ready to begin. I'm using my little dice Excel dice roller here. I have my defensive cheat sheets down here for us, and we are ready to go. So, Dick McAuliffe steps in against Mike Cuellar here in the first inning, and the pitch. And right away, we have a stadium result of 609, and that is going to be a strikeout. Strong start here for Cuellar to lead off Game 5. Hoping to continue his success from Game 2. Mickey Stanley steps in. He's only hitting .235 in the tournament, in these 4 games so far of the tournament. And look at that. We have a rare play. 501 is a rare play. 582 will be the rare play. 582 will be the rare play. Let's take a look and see what that is. 582. 582. Pop-up caught by the third baseman in foul territory, and he is injured colliding with the stands. All right, so third baseman, that's going to be Brooks Robinson. That is going to be Brooks Robinson. Right here in the first inning of all things. Brooks Robinson had 156 games played in 1969. And so let's head down and see what that's going to be. 156 games played. So it's going to be a +5 to our die roll for his injury. 15 is the roll, plus the 5 is a 20, and it's going to be a collision injury. So 20 on the collision chart. And he falls over the railing and strains his neck and is going to miss 2 games. Days injured is 2, and that includes today. So 2 in addition to today's game, I should say. So let's go here to Baltimore. Brooks Robinson. This isn't what they wanted to see. And he will return. By the way, I forgot to mention, it is September 14th. So he's going to miss today's game, miss the next two. He'll return on the 17th. Returns 9/17. And right away, we have an injury here in the first inning to a player that they don't want to be without, Brooks Robinson. And let's see who played third base at a backup role for them that year. 1969 Orioles. You know, you're watching in real time here, folks, as I figure this out. All right. So we scroll down here. We will get to third base. Ooh. Bobby Floyd. Bobby Floyd, is he on the lineup? Because some of these guys didn't have enough playing time. Bobby Floyd is in the lineup. Look at that. Bobby Floyd. So Bobby Floyd, he had 9 starts at third base. Or no, 9 games, I should say, at third base. They probably weren't starts. Could have moved Don Buford over there. And let's see, Don Buford from left field. That would have been interesting. Let's see, Don Buford. Third base, 367. 367. Or Bobby Floyd. Bobby Floyd. Oops. Ooh, 047. So Buford would be the better option in terms of defense. And then we could bring in, he's a left fielder, so then we could bring in like yeah, let's do that. So I think what's going to happen is Don Buford's going to move over to third for Brooks Robinson. And then in left, yeah, that's what we're going to do, folks. And then we'll move Merv Rettenmund. Boy, what a decision right away. Let's see what Rettenmund does in left. There's Motton. 147 in left. 277 in left. Okay, so Rettenmund's going to come into left. All right, so let's make that change right now. First of all, we have to do that pop-up in foul territory that was caught, by the way, at the railing. Now we're going to move. So Don Buford is going to move over to third base. And Merv Rettenmund is going to come in to play left field here. And then in Brooks Robinson's spot, we'll have Merv Rettenmund coming into that spot in the lineup. All right, folks. All of that said, Cuellar still on the mound, of course. We have 2 down now. And Jim Northrup stepping to the plate. So, Brooks Robinson led off the field with a little bit of a neck injury. And a 430 will be a grounder to second. Johnson over to Powell, and that will end the inning. So 1-2-3 inning despite the injury. We will see how Baltimore reacts to the lineup switch up here. Leading off will be Buford, who moved to third base. And on the mound, of course, Earl Wilson, as I mentioned. So Wilson deals 245, and he's a switch hitter, so that's a fly ball to center. It's deep, but Stanley has room, and he'll haul it in for out number 1. That brings up Paul Blair. Blair is hitting 368 in this tournament. 119 becomes a 319, and that is a very deep fly ball to right. It's way back at the fence, but Northrup will haul it in at the warning track. That's out number 2. 2 deep fly balls here for Baltimore, both of which stay in the park. But this one is not going to stay in the park, as Frank Robinson gets a hold of that and drives it deep, back, and over the left field wall for a solo home run here in the first inning. And just like that, Baltimore is on the board. So we had 2 deep fly balls caught, but that one, there's no shot of catching that one, as Frank Robinson gets Baltimore up to an early lead, a 1-0 lead here, his 3rd home run of this series. Boog Powell steps in, 417, and he grounds this one right to McAuliffe at second, who throws over to Norm Cash for out number 3. Baltimore, though, takes a 1-0 lead here in the first, hopefully carrying some momentum, shaking off the injury. We are now in the top of the second here, and Willie Horton will step in for Detroit. And he strikes him out. 2 strikeouts now for Cuellar, both of them leading off the inning. And we'll bring up Bill Freehan. Freehan hitting 400 in the series. 289, and that's going to be a deep fly ball to left. Oh boy, folks, deep fly ball to left. 14 plus 9 is a 23. 23, and that one is back and out of here. Bill Freehan ties it up here with a solo shot of his own here in the second inning. It's a 1-1 ball game. Not what Baltimore wanted to see. Cuellar recomposing himself on the mound to face Al Kaline here. 340, and he draws a walk. Cuellar kind of trying to shake off that home run. Will now face Norm Cash. Let's see, by the way. Kaline, 3 speed, 2 steal. Will not be going anywhere, trying to get a jump here. Norm Cash, 147 is a 347, and that is another deep fly ball to left, way back, but Retman will haul this one in near the warning track for out number 2. A lot of deep fly balls here. No wind, but ballpark is keeping them in. 142 becomes a 342. And Wirt just nubs it. And he will beat this one out for an infield base hit. So 2-out single here for Wirt. Brings up Dick Tracewski. Runners on first and second with 2 outs now. 223. And that will end the inning, as that's a grounder right to Buford. Buford over to first for out number 3. But not before Detroit ties this one up 1-1. It's been a lot of close games in the series, other than a couple of dominant pitching performances. Cuellar, by the way, will not have a chance at a shutout in this one. So that brings up Rettenmund, who I don't have in the lineup, so I'm going to have to go over to his card here. Rettenmund will face off against Earl Wilson here. 355. And he pops this one up on the infield. McAuliffe will be under it. And that will be 1 down. By the way, Brooks Robinson also would have popped that one up. So brings up Davey Johnson. 480. And Johnson drills this one into the gap. He's around first and into second base, standing up with a double, a 1-out double here in the second for Davey Johnson. Ellie Hendricks steps to the plate. He's hitting 300, 3 for 10 in the series. 291. This is going to be a deep drive. Probably not deep enough. Hit to right. 8 plus 8 is a 16. Very deep drive to right field. And Northrop will haul it in, but it is deep enough that Davey Johnson's going to tag up on this one and move to third base. Right at the warning track again. A lot of deep fly balls today. So now we have 2 out. Johnson on third. And Dave May to the plate. He's only hitting, he's 2 for 12, 167 here in this series. 137, 337, and he watches strike 3 go by. And that will end the inning. First strikeout here for Wilson. We head to the top of the third. Still tied at 1. Let's get back to Cuellar here. Cuellar, by the way, has a stamina of 6, so he has quite a few innings to go, unless he runs into a bunch of trouble. And he'll face the leadoff hitter, Dick McCullough, here in the third inning. 249. McCullough dribbles this one back to the mound. Cuellar will throw over to Powell. 1 down. Mickey Stanley, 262, and that's another one. Another dribbler back to the mound. 2 quick outs here to lead off the third. Brings up Jim Northrop. He grounded out to second his last at bat. 204, and he draws a walk. A 2-out walk here for Northrop. Northrop does have a little bit of stealing and opportunity, but not in this case. 4 steal, but a 10 D20 die roll means he stays put. Willie Horton struck out in his last at bat. See if he does more here. But no, he does not. He strikes him out. Another strikeout for Cuellar, his third, and 2 of those were Horton. So that will end the top of the third. We head to the bottom of the third. Still all tied up. Earl Wilson facing off against Belanger here. And 614 becomes a 624 for the home team. But that's not going to be high enough number for anything other than a pop-up on the infield. And McCullough is under it for out number 2. Or, excuse me, out number 1. Back to the top of the order with Don Buford. That's going to be another. That's going to be 613 this time. And he strikes him out. Second strikeout for Wilson. Buford in the leadoff spot, not doing very well in this series. Paul Blair, though, he's hitting 350. Flew out to right in his first at-bat. 683 for the home team, and that's going to be a base hit. 2-out single here for Blair. 3 stadium checks. And Blair is going to take a look at getting a lead, but is not going to get a lead at all. Not low enough for a pickoff, though, so that's good. And we'll bring up Frank Robinson. Robinson with the solo shot in the first inning. 465. And maybe payback here as Wilson hits him. Probably not the thing he wanted to do with 2 outs and a runner on first, because now we have runners on first and second and Boog Powell stepping to the plate. Couple of words exchanged, though, as Robinson walked to first on that one. 621 will be a 631 here, and that is going to be a pop-up on the infield. And Trasuski will be under this one for out number 3. So no damage done. We head to the 4th inning here. Cuellar facing off against Freehan, who had that solo shot in the 2nd inning that tied this ball game. 322. This time he grounds one to short. Belanger over to first for out number 1. K-line. 430 and a lefty. So that means he draws a walk. K-line with 2 walks in this game. He doesn't attempt a lead. Norm Cash steps in. 386, and that is a base hit. Kaline rounds first, but he holds up. And Detroit getting something going here in the fourth with runners on first and second. Don Wirt, who's hitting .231, but he did have the base hit in the second inning. 207, he's a righty, strikes him out. Big strikeout here for Cuellar. Dick Tracewski steps in, trying to get something going. 287, that's going to be a deep drive to left, but a 12 probably isn't going to be anything. Let's see, deep drive to left, a 12. Look at that, folks. Almost. That's a fly ball to left. Rettenman on the run, and he barely tracks this one down. Would have been extra bases, but instead ends the inning here on a line shot to left. We head to the bottom of the fourth. Wilson will deal to Redmond. We just made that great play that saved a run. 569. He grounds this one to short. Tracewski bobbles it, not able to come up with this one. And so Rettenman will be on first thanks to that error. Rettenman. Let's see. I believe there aren't +1 to speed if there are 2 outs and the game is tied. So there are not 2 outs. So we can ignore that, and he doesn't get the +1, so he doesn't attempt anything here. So that brings up Davey Johnson. Johnson just checking the bunt there. Not going to attempt a bunt. 524, and he pops this one up behind the plate. Freehand will be under it, and that will be 1 down. Hendricks, he had that fly out to right. He is hitting .273 in the series, and he strikes him out. It's the 3rd strikeout for Wilson here. And brings up Dave May, who struck out in his last at-bat. 337, and that's another strikeout. Back-to-back strikeouts for Wilson here in the 4th inning. So an error there, but no damage done. We head to the top of the 5th. Still tied at 1. Leadoff hitter Dick McAuliffe, who is 1 for 18, folks, in the series. 155, and he grounds this one to first. Powell will flip to Cuellar for the first out. So McAuliffe, his struggles at the plate continue. Mickey Stanley steps in, 238. And this is going to be a grounder to short. Belanger over to Powell. 2 down. So Cuellar making quick work here in the 5th inning. Northrup. 657. Northrup did walk in his last at bat. 657 is not going to be high enough for anything, and that's another ground out. 1-2-3 inning here in the 5th. We move to the bottom of the 5th. Still tied 1-1. Wilson deals to Belanger here in the 5th to lead it off. 30-44, and that's a grounder to short. Tracewski over to Cash for 1 down. That brings up Don Buford. Both leadoff hitters not doing very well, and that's going to continue. That's a 6-17 for the home team. And he struck him out. It's the 5th strikeout now for Wilson. It's the 2nd time that Buford has struck out. And we now move to Paul Blair with 2 down and nobody on. 192. That is usually a hit, and it is. He bloops one into the outfield for a 2-out single here in the 5th. Blair now 2 for 3 today. And the dangerous Frank Robinson steps in. 227. Robinson is a righty, and he strikes him out. 2 strikeouts in the 5th here for Wilson. It's his 6th strikeout today. And it came at a great time. We head to the top of the 6th. Still 1-1. Cuellar facing off against Willie Horton. Horton has struck out twice today. 156. This time he dribbles one to Powell. Powell up with it and flips to Cuellar. 1 down. Freehand steps in. 362. And that's a grounder to third. Buford, right at Buford, by the way. And he'll throw to first for out number 2. Kaline has walked in both of his plate appearances. And he's a righty. He's not going to get another walk, and he strikes him out. A full count. But Cuellar gets him swinging here. It's his 5th strikeout. He struck out 1 batter every inning. We head to the bottom of the 6th. By the way, Wilson also has a stamina of 6 here. Powell will lead things off for Baltimore. 578. That's going to be dangerous. Horton. And that's a clean base hit. Powell with the leadoff single here in the 6th. It's the 5th base hit for Baltimore. Powell, not much of a running threat. And that brings us to Redmond. Redmond, does have some bunting ability, but not high enough to do it here. 536, that's going to be another grounder defense check. And this one, Cash can't get a glove on. That's a base hit into the outfield. Right field arm is a 3. So Powell will stay put at second. So, Baltimore getting something going here in the 6th with back-to-back singles to lead things off. Davey Johnson will step in against Earl Wilson. Wilson hoping to get out of this. 275, and that is a deep drive to left. 11 plus 3 is a 14. But Horton will be there and haul this one in, and it's not deep enough for anybody to go anywhere. So 1 down now here in the 6th. Hendricks steps in. He's 0 for 2 today. Oh boy, 668 becomes a 678. That's probably something. 678 is a single to left. Left fielder Horton has an arm of 3. So once again, Powell isn't going to go anywhere. I don't think. Runner advancement with 1 out. No. Maybe means the speed equals or exceeds the fielder's arm, or the D20 is less than the speed. Neither which is true. We have the bases loaded, though, folks. 3 singles here in the 6th have loaded the bases for Dave May, who has struck out in both of his at-bats. They're going to bring the infield in here. Try to get the play at the plate if they can. 644 becomes a 654. This is going to be dangerous with the infield in, folks. 654. Because results in purple are a single plus if the infield is playing in. So a base hit through the drawn-in infield is going to score Powell. Rettenman rounds third and scores. Hendricks will hold up at second, but there's a 2-run single here in the 6th, and Baltimore has taken a 3-1 lead. Still only 1 out. Wilson will deal to Mark Belanger. 111 becomes a 311. That's a deep drive to center. But Stanley will have room, and it's not deep enough for anybody to go anywhere other than back to the base. All right, 2 down. Runners on first and second, and Don Buford. 607 becomes a 617. And he struck him out. Buford's 3rd strikeout and the 7th for Wilson, but not before 2 runs have scored, giving Baltimore a 3-1 lead. Will it be enough for Cuellar, who is also pitching very well, other than that solo shot he gave up to Bill Freehan? He'll face, first off in the 7th, Norm Cash, who singled in his last at-bat. 633, that's not going to be high enough. And that's a pop-up on the infield. Belanger under it for out number 1. Don Wirt, 387, and Wirt grounds this one to third. Buford over to first. That's 2 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the 10th straight batter retired by Cuellar, as he is in his groove right now. Spoke too soon, folks, as Dick Tracewski grounds one right up the middle, and Cuellar can't get a glove on it. That'll be a 2-out single here in the 7th. And Cuellar now has 1 level of fatigue. Tracewski not going anywhere. Gets him back to the top of the order. Dick McCullough, 339. And McCullough just gets a little bit of this one. And Cuellar comes in to field it, but that's going to be safe all the way around. Infield base hit. So 2 singles here in the 7th, 2 2-out singles. Detroit trying to get something going and get those runs back. Cuellar now with 2 levels of fatigue. He now faces Mickey Stanley, 360. But that's all they're going to get, as Stanley grounds this one to Buford, who throws over to first and gets them out of the inning. So we get to the 7th inning stretch. Detroit, 1 run on 5 hits and 1 error. Baltimore, 3 runs on 8 hits and no errors. Wilson will still be on the mound for now. And he'll face Blair, Robinson, and Powell. He's now subject to fatigue. 209 becomes a 409. Blair grounds this one to short. Tracewski over to first for out number 1. Frank Robinson. Robinson steps in, 381, and he's going to get a base hit here. Single for Robinson, and now Wilson has 1 level of fatigue. There's not 2 outs. So there's no bonus to the speed. And Boog Powell will step in. He's 1 for 3 today. He's scored in the 6th inning. Had that leadoff single. And he bloops one into the outfield, and that's going to be another base hit. Back-to-back singles here in the 7th. And Rettenman steps in. There is activity in the Detroit bullpen, as Wilson trying to deal out of this one, but that one is drilled into the gap. Drilled into the right field gap here. That's going to be a double. And let's see. Powell only has a run of 2. So he won't go anywhere for that. Runner advancement with 1 out. No. So that is going to be a double scoring Robinson. Powell will hold at third. And they are threatening here with more runs here in the 7th. And I believe that'll be it for Wilson. So even though by rights he shouldn't come out yet, because of these back-to-back innings, Wilson is done after 6 1/3. So 6 1/3 for Wilson. They're going to try to. They have plenty of good relief. Plenty of good relief. So I believe John Hiller will step in, or Pat Dobson. A couple of lefties, so Hiller will step in. All right, John Hiller will try to limit the damage. They'll have the infield in again with 1 out, and Hiller facing off against Davey Johnson. 222 will be a 422. And 6-4-3 with the infield drawn in, and Powell would not be going on contact because he does not have much speed. So, let's see here. I believe we go here and we go to see infield in. By the way, the rules were just updated. So 6-4-3, infield in, runner does not go on contact, so it's going to be a grounder to short, and he throws over to first, and nobody on the base paths moves. There was no force. All right, 2 down. Runners infield now back. Hendricks at the plate. 5:33. This one's back to Norm Cash, who has to range a little bit to his right, but he does grab it, and he will beat Hendricks to the bag in a rundown. So Detroit able to get out of this one with no more damage done. However, Baltimore is now up 4-1 heading into the 8th. Cuellar still on the mound, but there is activity for Baltimore. He has 2 levels of fatigue, and he'll face the heart of the order starting with Jim Northrup. 395, and that's going to be a base hit, a leadoff single here in the 8th for Northrup. 4 is not less than 4, so he stays put. Willie Horton, Cuellar probably facing his last batter here. Belanger, and that's going to be another single. That is going to be a single to left. Northrup holding at second base. And that will be it for Cuellar. Cuellar, 7 innings. But back-to-back base hits here in the 8th inning is going to lead to the end of his day. Probably going to be Severinsen. No, Richard. Righty. I don't know. Richard is their next best pitcher. Yeah, he's pretty good. So Pete Richard will come in to pitch. Trying to limit the damage here. And he will face off against Freehand. Very dangerous here. They have a 3-run lead. But Detroit has a couple runners on with no outs. 253. Oh, boy. Deep drive to left. 18. 9 plus 9 is 18. Deep left 18. This could be it, folks. This could be a tie game. That is hit deep and at the wall and just clears the wall. And this game is tied at 4. 3-run homer from Bill Freehand. His second of the game. Baltimore fans stunned as this game was just tied up with 1 swing of the bat. Richard trying to recompose himself. Kaline, Retmond, and Kaline with a base hit here. Back-to-back hits here against Richard. By the way, he has a stamina of 1, so he is probably So he is subject to fatigue. He let up his 1 run. And I think if a pitcher fatigue. Getting blown up. Where's the getting blown up? Rules. Relievers become vulnerable after they have allowed a number of runs equal to their stamina. So he had allowed a number of runs equal to his stamina with that home run. So he has 1 level of fatigue. He'll face Norm Cash. This may be a short outing for Richard. 604 becomes a 614. That's not going to be high enough. He strikes him out. So Richard strikes out Norm Cash. That's just the first out, by the way, folks. Just the first out. Now he faces Don Wirt. 247. And Wirt flies this one to center. Blair under it for out number 2. Two outs. And Trasuski up. Richard trying to just get out of this inning. 443, and he will, as this one's grounded to short. And 3 quick outs here to end the inning. But not before Freehand ties this one up with another swing of the bat. John Hiller does have the stamina to continue, and he will. He'll face Dave May here in the bottom of the 8th. 356. May flies this one to right. It's kind of deep, but Northrup will have room to make the catch. Belanger 0 for 3 today. 545. That's McAuliffe. And that's going to be a base hit. Can't get a glove on it. A 1-out single here in the 8th. And that gets them back to the top of the order. But not much to say for that, as Buford is 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts today. 645. That's not going to be high enough. 645 is a grounder to second. McCullough flips to Trasuski, and they cannot complete the double play. So Buford now on first. He has a high steal rating, but not high enough. So Paul Blair will step in. 2 outs, runner on first. 144. And Blair flies this one to right. Northrup under it. That's out number 3. All right, so Richard will probably be done. Let's see, I think reliever between innings 1, and he had 1. So Richard is coming out of the game. So to face the top of the 9th here, let's see, Richard pitched 1 inning. Severinsen, left, right, left. You know, Richard is going to stay in and face 1 batter. Nah, why do it with so much pitching sitting there? Severinsen will come in. We got to keep to the auto manager. Auto manager says take him out, so we're taking him out. All right, Severinsen will be in to pitch to the top of the 9th here, starting with Dick McAuliffe. 140, and McAuliffe dribbles this one back to the mound. Severinsen over to first. 1 down. Detroit just trying to get a run of any kind here. 430, and that's not going to do it. That's a grounder to short. 2 quick outs. Northrup, he had that base hit that started things in the 8th. But this time grounds this one right to Davy Johnson. 1-2-3 inning here for Detroit in the 9th. Severinsen does what he needed to do. Okay, Hiller has pitched his 2 innings. Hiller has pitched his 2 innings, 1 1/3 actually. Or 1 2/3, excuse me. Dobson, Patterson. Dobson would be the next logical choice. He also ate a lot of innings for Detroit that year. So Pat Dobson will come in to pitch for Detroit here in the bottom of the 9th. Baltimore just trying to score a run any way they can in this game. Dobson will need to face off against Frank Robinson and Boog Powell. And then Merv Rettenmund, who is 2 for 4 with a big RBI double here in the 7th. So, but first things first, Frank Robinson, who homered in the first inning, he's 2 for 3. Dobson deals 244, and he strikes him out. Leadoff strikeout here. And that brings up Boog Powell, who's hitting 333 in the series. 418. And that's a grounder to second. McAuliffe over to first for out number 2. Rettenmund trying to continue his game he's having here, which is actually a pretty good game. Grounds this one to Trzaskowski, who makes a little bit of a stumbling stop. He recovers and throws to first in time for out number 3. And we're going to extra innings here, folks. We're going to extra innings. Let's see here. Severinsen will actually stay in because he had a 1-2-3 inning here in the 9th. So he'll stay in to face Horton, Freehan, and Kaline here in the 10th. 353, and he strikes him out. 3rd strikeout today for Horton. Freehan with 2 homers today. Severinsen is not going to put him on base intentionally. But he does pitch around him very carefully and walks him. So Freehan with the walk. And that brings up Kaline. And Severinsen does have 1 level of fatigue. He'll stay out there, though. He's a righty, and he strikes him out. Another strikeout here for Severinsen. Just trying to get 1 more out. Norm Cash, who was the hero of yesterday's game. 536. And that's a base hit past Powell. I don't believe with 2 outs. 3rd would be the next base, so no. Runners on first and second now. Runners on first and second. So Severinsen will face 1 more batter probably with Don Wirt. 462. And that's a liner right to short. Belanger gets a glove on it, and that will be the end of the inning. Wow. Good reflexive play there. Could have saved a run. All right, Dobson is still on the mound, and he'll face off against Davey Johnson, Ellie Hendricks, and Dave May. Oh boy, deep drive. Not going to be deep enough. Deep to left, 11 plus 3 is 14. Deep left, 14. And that is hit to Horton, who makes the play. Johnson, not much power. Look good off the bat, though. Ellie Hendricks, 486. And this one's deep to center, way back at the warning track. But Stanley will have that one. 2 down. Dave May, 270. That's another, oh boy. Oh boy, folks. Dave May does have a little bit of pop in his bat. Deep to right, 14 plus 6 is a 20. Deep to right, back at the wall, over the wall, and that's going to be a walk-off home run for Dave May. Baltimore fans are going crazy as Dobson left that one a little bit too far over the plate. Dobson, who'd pitched, retired 5 straight hitters to that point, left that one a little bit too far out over the plate, and Dave May made him pay for it. May only had 3 homers that year, but that was in 120 at-bats, so not as bad as it looks. And just enough pop to get that one out of there. Baltimore fans going crazy as a walk-off home run from Dave May here in the 10th inning off Pat Dobson. So, Baltimore overcomes 2 home runs from Bill Freehan to win this one 5-4. If we go back to the bracket, Baltimore now advances to play the 1961 Yankees, and the 68 Tigers will play the 64 White Sox in the losers bracket, the elimination bracket actually, because the loser of that series will go home. What a finish to this one, folks. 10 innings, a comeback from Detroit with a 3-run homer in the 8th inning by Bill Freehan. But Dave May is the hero of this game with that home run, a walk-off homer in the 10th. Detroit, 4 runs on 10 hits and 1 error. Baltimore, 5 runs on 13 hits and no errors. And that's enough for them to advance in this series. All right, folks. That's where we will leave things. Thank you so much for watching this one. Hopefully you found that to be enjoyable. Again, check out baseballmaelstrom.com if you want to follow the action. Also, if you're a Payoff Pitch fan, there is a Payoff Pitch PC game coming called Game Pulse. It is still an alpha, but you can watch a couple videos of the action for that and some of my play testing for that. So check that out if you're interested. But that's where we'll leave things today. Thank you so much again for watching, and until next time, have a great evening.